Another question we got, Tony. You were around WWF for a brief period of time in 1997. Why do you think Vader never really clicked in WWE? He received a big main event run with Shawn Michaels for the belt. They had some major issues working in the ring where Shawn had some major frustrations on pay-per-view live. That kind of cost Vader a championship run. What is it about Vader, do you think, that didn't exactly click in WWE? And he was quickly moved into a mid-card slot and then almost into an enhancement role before he finally quit.
Well, the unfortunate thing about any business, sometimes, like when I first started wrestling, some of the best wrestlers were the jobbers. In some respect, if you have a problem with one person that is close to the office, that person can cause you problem down the road. I think the main thing that hurt Vader was that slap. When he slapped the guy in the Mud East, that was pretty much.
And you know, that's a great observation. Because right after that, he really started to move
what he
down.
did, he made himself a liability.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy. Like for example, when you do something in wrestling or football, people would not have came out to Vader. They would have came out to WWE because they got deeper pockets. And if you keep that person around, he caused a liability, and he made himself a liability. You know, like I said, Vince McMahon had never fired anybody that didn't deserve it. You do something in your career, because Vince got more people to answer to than just WWE employees and WWE wrestlers. He also had to answer to networks, USA Network. He has to answer to his sponsors.
And
you know,
the biggest one is stockholders.
Right, they're stockholders. He has
company.
to answer to all the people. So when a guy make himself a liability, say, well, if he do that, because he didn't go to jail, which means he cost the WWE a lot of money.
He was stuck in the country for a couple of weeks.
They had to spend a lot of money
to
getting him back out. So and his temperament, Vince probably figured maybe he would do it again. Maybe next time it'd be worse on the organization. But it's like David Shook, when he slapped the reporter, that made him a liability. So whenever you do something, you know, you make yourself a liability to the company.
Right.
And Vince can't afford to have scandals because everybody is, in today's time, everybody's looking to sue. So I think that had a lot to do with it. The slap he did, when we slapped the news reporter.
All right, we got a question from Arthur Simonelli on Twitter. He wants to know, where would you rank Vader amongst the great big men in wrestling history, Tony?
Within the top 10.
Really?
Yeah, I'll put him up with the top 10 because, like I said, there ain't many men his size. Now, Vader was almost over 400 pounds. You know, he was a very, very big man. And plus his history to go along with it. I mean, how many wrestlers you know that have 2 Super Bowl rings? I mean, wrestling was very fortunate to get a person that played in 2 Super Bowls and wear 2 Super Bowl rings. There are very few people that got, you know, unless you're Tom Brady or New England Patriot, you know, there are very few teams that, so he was always in the top in everything he did. In football, he was on, you know, he was one of the top players in football. Made a lot of money in what he did in football. And in wrestling, he was a great draw. It made a lot of money in our pro wrestling.
400-pound man that did a moonsault.
400-pound man that could do things, move around in the ring. You had Bam Bam Bigelow. You had Crusher Blackwell, but it was very, very limited. They was all limited in what they could do. So I would rank him within one of the top 10s.
Right, this one, almost a little insulting, but you could find some humor in it, from the shooter Dave Simcoe on Twitter. He said, Vader has become notoriously known on podcasts as someone that had horrendous-smelling ring gear. Did Leon stink when you worked with him?
We all did.
But was he exceptionally bad?
No. This guy probably got close to a wrestler ring gear for the first time in life. See, guys.
Well, the WWE Talent Relations had to have some conversations with him because the boys complained it was that bad.
Well, yeah, but see what ended up happening when you're in a top spot. Like I was with, not to get off subject, I checked into a hotel with Hogan one time, Hulk Hogan. And I went to the room, relaxed a little bit, came down, went to do the event, came back to do the event, got up the next morning at 3 o'clock. I had to be at the airport at 4 to catch a 6 a.m. Flight. I had to be at the airport at 5. So 4 o'clock, I came in the lobby. Hogan was just coming in to get his bag. He'd been working. So when you're on the road, it's very hard to find the time to do your laundry. So most of the guys, they do their laundry when they get home. And a lot of guys with like Teddy Long, which was easy for Teddy to do. Teddy used to do his laundry at the end of TV. He'd go down to the laundromat at the hotel and do his laundry. But he didn't have to wrestle and do what Vader did. But Randy Savage was another one. A lot of guys that wore a lot of stuff. It was hard. Like guys that, like if you just wore like a pair of wrestling trunks like Bob Orton Jr., you could just take that, take a little shampoo and rinse them out in the sink and hang them up. You got a fresh pair of trunks for the next day. But he wore a lot of gear. So it wasn't that easy for him to do his laundry.
Is there a proper etiquette for the boys when it comes to cleanliness? No, there's not.
No, not that I know of. No.
All right, well.
But see, the guys that complained during the Vader time, Vader came with they would have never made it with Andre. Mm-hmm. Andre would pass gas in the dressing room, and the show would be over. He could pass gas at 8 o'clock, and when the show ended at 10, you could still get a little whiff of Andre butthole. So we were used to that. Yeah. We came up in a different era. I used to wrestle a lot of guys like Abe Jacob. Now, Abe Jacob would eat raw garlic. So when he sweat, what you smell?
The garlic.
The garlic, you know, but where he come from is not to eat raw garlic, raw onions. I see him eat a raw onion, raw garlic. And so, guys, we didn't pay much attention in my day. Mm-hmm. But the newer generation, they more sensitive to things because they came up in a different time. So Vader was like an old dinosaur walking around all these young kids that are used to everything smelling good. They're not used to odor. They're not used to hairy, sweaty body. Like if they ever wrestled George the Animal Steel, I mean, when he sweat, he was no fun to wrestle. Not for all that hair.
Let me ask you this, where Vader has become kind of a target for fans online, because of these stories that have come out on podcasts like Bruce Pritchard's and such. Who was maybe the worst that you ever had to work with when it came to hygiene? Was it George Steele? Was it someone else?
Well, George, they shower every day, but when they get a sweating,
right?
These big hairy guys.
Was there anyone that was exceptionally bad that you had to work with? You said, "Oh, I got to get in the ring with
Savage.
Savage was the worst. He stunk. And why was that?
He would never wash his gear.
Really?
Yeah. Until he got off the road.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, because you got to realize these guys was on the road, not like right now. What Vince, they only on the road 4 days a week. They got 3 days off. But back in the older days,
they had 90 on, yeah,
or more. So more. Like when I first started in the 70s, we got 10 days off a year. We wrestled 355 days a year. Mm-hmm.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at Paolo Sant Jordi in Barcelona, Spain, Saturday, April the 24th, 1993. In the opening contest, Virgil beat Terry Taylor. Native American Tatanka with the win over Papa Shango. The Steiner brothers defeated WWF Tag Team Champions Money Inc. via disqualification. El Matador victorious over Doink the Clown. Bret Hitman Hart beat Bam Bam Bigelow. The Bushwhackers with the win over the Beverly Brothers. And in the main event, The Undertaker defeated Yokozuna via disqualification. If you were in Barcelona live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the link in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insider's Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.